Ready, set, go.
Hello, this is Creatures of the Night, and I'm Chris.
And I'm Wendy.
Well, Wendy and I have been investigating the paranormal for over 10 years. I think this is actually like our 11th year.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And guess what, guys? We still do not call ourselves experts.
Fuck no.
No. How long do you think it should take before someone assumes that title, expert in the paranormal?
20 years, maybe?
20?
Maybe at 20, we'll be like, we have to be doing something right. I mean,
I hope that on our 20th anniversary, we can get like slap bracelets, the slapstick bracelets, and it's like, bam, expert.
Yep, that's what I'm going to get you.
That's it, right? So you don't even have to worry about like, well, what do you call yourself? Like, just read the bracelet.
Oh, yeah. You already know. You see us coming.
Make them lime green, please. But anyways, I'm not trying to start the show with an argument. I actually brought that up because it's kind of funny to me. The fact that Wendy and I started exploring the paranormal in a local cemetery near our homes, and 11 years later, we still find time to try and do the same thing. But here, we mostly just talk about the paranormal. We do go out and explore it too. It's a lot harder when we're a million miles away from each other.
Yeah, it's been really nice to do these virtual investigations, though.
Yes, our virtual investigations where we read like Wikipedia and Google, investigate all of that. The pictures that people put out there for us, YouTube videos, that's what we do. Well, it all started for us at a New Year's party at Wendy's house when we both lived in a suburb of Western Tennessee. She lived at one end of the subdivision while I was at the complete other end, but all within, what did you say, like 5 minutes driving?
Oh,
maybe.
Yeah. I could have walked to your house in like a good 15 minutes.
Yeah, and we did walk it at least once. We were too drunk to drive home. We just walked that.
But there was new construction in the neighborhood, so it was real handy that there were usually porta potties throughout the neighborhood.
That's so funny. I forgot about the porta potties.
Yeah, I mean, because when you've been drinking and then you go walking, it's like, wow, I have to piss. And it's like, look at this. It's like God sent.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. That was extremely convenient. Thank you to the builders of the subdivision back then. I mean, there were so many of them. I can't just do a shout out to one, so I'll just say all of them. Thank you collectively. Good. But as Wendy and I were only friends at that time through a mutual friend when she invited me over to celebrate the New Year's at her house, which, by the way, that party was freaking amazing. She had loads of people over and the TV was on. The kids were running around screaming, yelling, having a blast. And we're just like, go ahead. There's cheese and leave me alone. She, of course, had the best fireworks and food. And most importantly of all, Ghost Adventures was on the TV. And that night, over 10 years ago, we decided that due to our mutual interest in the paranormal brought on by Ghost Adventures, that we would hop in the car and go off and explore a cemetery nearby that just by chance happened to be the most infamous cemetery around.
Legendary. And we didn't even really know it.
Didn't even really know it, that's for sure. But it had all of these stories about this half man, half beast like ghost that scares the shit out of you if you come into the cemetery, and just all kinds of ghost stories. And it was like 5 minutes from our subdivision. So Wendy grabbed her Sony Handycam and me basically just there to explore it in turn, set us off on this lifelong quest of further exploring the paranormal. Now, I know that stories come up before, but now that we've reached episodes that have triple digits, I thought that I'd bring it up again, especially since New Year's is right on our doorstep once again.
Yeah, I forget about this being like our anniversary, too.
I know. It's so weird. Happy anniversary, Wendy.
You too. I got you nothing this year, but you know. That bracelet's coming.
I know, right? That bracelet. Nice. See, I'm good at giving ideas.
You'll forget it by then, too. So it'll be like, oh my God, how'd you think of this?
Oh, such an awesome idea. Yeah, no, I mean, you said by tomorrow. Give me 5 minutes. It's gone. Now, we went out originally because the paranormal was something that just piqued our interest. And it still does very much so clearly today. We just, like I said earlier, live thousands and thousands of miles apart. So on New Year's, we definitely can't just pick up our equipment, hop in the car like we did together all those years ago. We have to do it virtually. But if you're in London, you may want to pick up your camera and head to the Thames because there is some paranormal stuff going on that you need to know about. A professional photographer was able to catch something in London on New Year's. So check out this image of a figure standing outside the Parliament. Wendy, I'm going to send this to you right now.
Was it like a local legend that they knew to go there on New Year's, or it's just by chance?
It's just by chance. This guy, like I said, he's a professional photographer. He's taking a picture of the scene, how pretty the building is all lit up. And then there it is. So I sent you 2 pictures, one full shot and then the one zoomed in.
You know what people will say, though, that this
yeah.
is like a photo trick or whatever, because their clothes are very modern.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing. So the image that I just sent Wendy is a transparent figure dressed in modern clothing, gazing out over the Thames near the Westminster Bridge in London. Professional photographer Jules Anand took the image on New Year's Eve, but he only noticed the ghostly apparition when he got home. And he says, nothing like this has ever happened to me before. I can't explain it. There was no one there when I took the picture, and it's not a double exposure or a long exposure. He says, I've shown it to 5 or 6 other people, and they can't explain it either. Among the experts he has consulted is a paranormal investigator by the name of Lee Roberts. Now, Lee is the owner of Haunted Events UK, who was intrigued by the picture as well. And he believes that the picture also cannot be explained by camera error. And he says that it is either paranormal activity or someone tampering with the photographs, using some type of an editing software, Photoshop, right? Or something free, like what I use. When I tamper with no, I'm just kidding.
Well, the photographer is an expert in what he does. So you would think that he would be able to tell when something's been photoshopped or not.
Yeah, so the professional photographer, the fact that he was stunned and he decided to show it off, and he's like, I don't know what happened here. I don't know how this happened. You tell me how this happened. And he explains that it wasn't this and it wasn't that. And I'm not a rocket science when it comes to photography at all. I've never developed my own. Rather, I was the kind of gal that would, use the click and take it to Walgreens and have them, develop it for me. I wasn't into the whole, dark room,
right,
chemicals, And I don't know if this guy's doing that either, but I would assume if someone's, a professional photographer, that they are still into that sort of thing, like developing their own film. But I just thought it was interesting because it is, like you said, a very modern looking woman. I mean, she looks like she's got boots with the fur and she's got like a cute kind of like a varsity jacket, like it would be like a Letterman style.
Yeah, I wonder, why do you call it a woman?
Oh, just because of the boots. Really, that's it. Because I don't know. I can't tell anything. But with the boots being up, like I have boots like that. So
right, yeah.
And here I am in my flannel shirt that I want to believe. So, I mean, it could be a dude. I'm very manly, as I've mentioned before in the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it could be a woman. I got the impression that it was a man, but you really can't tell because you're not seeing like the front side of the person. Right. And yeah, I'm wondering what is going on top of their head too. Like they're wearing some kind of hat or something.
Yeah, it may be a backwards ball cap that's pulled down a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's also why I thought it was a dude, is because I'm trying to think that that's a ball cap. It really looks like one of those little hats that some Jewish people wear, though. Because it's
like
so on the top of his crown. Yeah. But I don't know. It is an interesting photo. It's so fun to see a ghost in modern clothes.
I know.
Because that never happens. It's always the 18th century or something like that. So that's kind of fun.
I thought so too. And that's funny that you mentioned that because going back to the paranormal expert here, he says, I can explain 99% of these pictures that I see, but he, and referring to the photographer, Mr. Anand, has found a live one here, or rather a dead one. He's got fun. But he continues by saying that people always think ghosts have to be Victorian era, women in these long flowy dresses or puffy shirts. But if there are spirits out there, then that should include people right up to present day. Mm-hmm. I agree with him. Yeah. Totally. Mm-hmm. So if this is a legit picture, finally, we have someone in like modern day clothes. There it is.
That's cool.
So I thought, well, that's neat. I'll post the link to those pictures and to the article so that you all can see what we're talking about. But man, apparently all you got to do is just get out there to the Thames and wait around for the ghostly specter of this modern day spirit to appear before your eyes or your camera lens. So apparently we should have just been in London all along.
It looks beautiful too. You see that view.
I know that view is something, right? Mm-hmm. With the building and everything. Yeah, I thought that was beautiful.
Lights, yeah.
Yeah, I have to admit, when I saw the article and it was like ghostly picture, image caught in picture, I was like, yeah, man, whatever, that view, that's something. Oh, yeah, okay, I see the ghost. Okay, but that view.
You're like trying to tell the ghost, could you get out of my shot, please? I want to really remember this.
You're ruining it for me. So not to mention, if you are in London looking out for this ghost by the Thames, there's also quite a large number of haunted places to partake in, especially around New Year's Eve. You can wet your whistle at these places because I'm talking about haunted pubs.
Nice.
Now I know that Now I know that COVID will most likely hinder everyone's typical New Year's celebration plans because I'm sure that these pubs have a maximum capacity right now. However, for those of you that'll still be looking to indulge in a few spirits, both in the liquid and in the ghostly forms, well, I've got a great list of 7 of the most haunted pubs for you to explore while in London.
Like list.
I know. I'm actually not really sure that it's 7.
Like mine when I was like 17. I don't know what number I said, but then when I was editing it, I'm like 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's 14.
I picked 7 because it's a good, hearty, like lucky number. So we'll see if I actually make it there. Many of London's best bars actually date back to the 1600s. So naturally, they've got a few interesting stories to tell. And maybe after you visit, you'll have become part of one of those legendary tales heard from those pubs too. Just as long as it's a paranormal story, though, not how you got so drunk that your bestie had to hold your hair back while you hurled in a urinal.
Ugh.
I should have changed that. That was so vivid. I couldn't even spit it out.
But I mean, also he's a urinal. So Did you go to the wrong bathroom? Because you said hold hair.
That's why I said that.
A guy could have long hair, but do they hold each other's hair? I don't know.
No. I meant exactly what you heard. So first on the list is a location that I have discussed before, but it's been a while. So you might need a refresher, and it's super haunted anyway. So it's totally the best place to begin your haunted New Year's pub crawl. This location is none other than the 10 Bells Pub, which is an important and famous landmark among those touring Jack the Ripper sites. Located at the corner of Commercial Street at the interchange with Fournier Street, the 10 Bells Pub has been in place since at least the 1740s, and it is the infamous pub where several of Jack the Ripper's victims frequented before they were killed. In the spring of 1888, Annie Chapman, who was the second of Jack's victims, was said to be drinking alone in the 10 Bells only hours before her body was discovered. Elizabeth Stride, also known as Long Liz, I don't know why.
I hope she's tall.
I hope it was because she was just a tall lady.
Yeah.
She was the third of Ripper's victims. She was thrown out of the pub for being drunk and having disorderly behavior.
Throwing up in the urinals.
Yeah, she was, get out here, Long Liz. And then Mary Jane Kelly, who was the last of these infamous murder victims, she was seen in the pub with a friend on the night before her murder. So yeah, it's got a dark connection to a mysterious unsolved murder case, but that's not all it's got. Over the years, staff and visitors have also reported sightings of a range of ghostly apparitions in the pub. So in the late 1990s, staff with rooms on the pub's upper floors frequently reported regular encounters with the ghost of a Victorian man. The staff reported that they would wake up in the night feeling uneasy, turn over, and see the ghostly form laying next to them.
I remember that
right?
one. Yeah. It's like, negative.
And that's what happened. As soon as someone would freak out, the ghostly man just like, oh, sorry, gotta go. Oh, this is your bed? Although the descriptions were always similar, nobody could pinpoint the man's identity. However, when the new landlord arrived in 2000, he began cleaning out the basement. He found an old box hidden in a corner which contained items belonging to a Mr. George Roberts. And after further research, he found that Roberts had been the landlord of the pub way, way back in the day. So they tend to think that it's his ghost that you'll find sleeping in bed next to you some nights.
I wonder how many times he did that to his tenants.
Yeah, I know, right? Was he just getting, too wasted downstairs at the pub and he's just like, this bed'll do.
Forgot which room was his.
Right. Well, I think he's harmless, though. He just, tends to get a little confused on where he should be sleeping. But anyways, here at the 10 Bells Pub, when the staff started to become more aware of the ghostly activity, they called in a psychic to assess the building, which was all fine and good until the psychic got to the top floor of the pub, and that's when she refused to enter the room. She declared that something terrible had taken place in the room, and it involved the death of a 19th century baby. Several years after that, a researcher was just up on the roof, just, having a look around, and she noticed some sort of weird, odd old material that's stuffed behind a water tank. So she pulls it out, and turns out that it's a sack. She opens it up, and it's a set of moldy baby clothes that turned out to be dated back to the Victorian era. even more chilling is that the clothes look to have been cut up like with a knife. So something creepy was happening there, but we don't really know what it is. The whole reason why I'm even telling you that is because where the set of baby clothes and the tank where they were found was directly above the room that the psychic had pointed out saying, oh no, I'm not going in there. Something bad had happened. So everyone ties those two together, but it's another unsolved, who knows, thing. Nobody ever hears any babies crying. And other than the Jack the Ripper story, it doesn't really seem like there's any, evil entities here, so really nothing to be afraid of, I don't think. And many staff members of the 10 Bells have reported hearing the sounds of footsteps and laughter in the hallways when no one's there, which again is all fine and good. Ghosts like to pace the halls, so I've come to discover. And a few of them like to let out a good laugh every now and then too. But then there are reports here of people getting pushed by an invisible hand, which now I'm raising an eyebrow, right? Is this someone trying to get your attention, someone trying to make you fall, or are they a little tipsy in a pub and just a little incoherently pushing past you?
Yeah. Or like grabbing you for support,
Right. Hold on a minute. Oh, that was a wobbly stare. I mean, to me, that makes a little bit more sense. I still have not read any stories about anything like attacking anybody. It's just a ghostly guy is in your bed, or you might feel someone try to push past you on the stairs. So, right? It's all fun and games.
I love how the two of those are actually very threatening things.
They are scary.
But we're like, oh, he might just be a little drunk and not know where he's going. It's harmless. Don't worry about it. Or like, that ghost might need your help. Please offer your shoulder to it.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm trying to make it out like it's this good, positive thing when who knows? Maybe it's actually like, I'm really trying to be bad here. I'm really trying my best. But you're right, it is kind of scary. I mean, to wake up and see a ghost man laying in your bed, nobody wants to see that.
Well, it's just like, why are you here type thing. But I mean, he was there first. So
yeah, that's true.
He's probably like, why are you here? This is my room.
Right. Give me back my old comfy bed sheets. I don't like these itchy microfiber ones.
You're always stealing the covers.
I know, that's the worst. So that was it for the 10 Bells. And I know that I kind of breezed over it, but like I said earlier, I covered that location and I've got maybe 6 more to tell you about today. So if you want to know more about the 10 Bells, just download episode 28. You have to scroll for a while, but it'll get you there. So when you get tired of all the goings on at the 10 Bells, you can head on over to the Bow Bells pub. Though, yeah, I know it's got a weird name. I would highly recommend that you use the bathroom before you head over to this one. This cute little bar. Oh, what?
No, I was like, what do you mean? Is the bathroom disgusting? And then I'm like, oh, the bathroom's probably haunted. That's what you're going to say.
Yes. This cute little bar stands along Mile End Road, and the ghostly entity haunting it seems to only invade the ladies' room. So yeah, this might be when you're puking up in the urinal.
Well, ladies spend more time in the bathroom. We have to actually sit down and stuff like that.
Right.
They're probably trying to haunt the dude's bathroom, but they're in and out so quick. They're like, hey, you didn't even wash your hands, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, there might be a reason to that. You're right. They can't really haunt the men's restroom from what I understand here. Over the years, the toilets have said to mysteriously flush on their own. And of course, this only happens when ladies are sitting down on the toilets. So men, I guess they do, but how frequently are they doing that out in the public, right? Let's just wait until they get home. So I know that sounds more like an issue for Roto-Rooter than ghost hunters, but in 1974, the Bow Bells team decided that it was totally spiritual interference and that they needed this to end. So they performed a seance in the lavatory.
Okay.
And apparently, when the phantom flusher was asked to make itself known, one toilet door slammed open with such force that it broke one of the pub's mirrors. You know what I mean? Like the stall door, slammed open. Yeah, it was like, bam! So since the 70s and on up to current day, the phantom can still be felt at this location. The toilet will still flush on you, so be forewarned. Or just don't go to the bathroom there, like I said. The phantom flusher has never made any additional appearances, though, and it is thought of just as like a whimsical bathroom prankster. However, the slamming of the toilet door while the spirit was being contacted by a medium may suggest that the ghost is stubborn, and being asked to leave might have made him a little angry. Or her, I don't know. It made it angry.
Yeah, it was like, don't tell me what to do. I think this is hilarious.
Yeah, right. Sit down. Don't you have to pee? I'll show you. Of course, I'm just sitting here thinking, being stuck in the bathroom for all of eternity would be enough to piss me off. Yeah. You don't have to just ask me to leave too. It's just, I'm stuck here, guys. So, moody bathroom ghosts. So next we move on to the Spaniards Inn, where the spirits here do more than flush the toilet. And yes, before you ask, this is a pub, don't let the name fool you. The Spaniards Inn was named after a couple of Spanish landlords, Francisco and Juan Porrero, who fought in a duel over a woman, which ended up leaving poor Juan 6 feet under and buried in the Spaniard's garden. Want to take a shot at whose spirit is a little unrested here? That's right, it's Juan's ghost.
You don't say.
Yeah, right. But he's not the only one. There's a ghostly figure of a man who's thought to be that of Dick Turpin. He's often seen on the road outside. Now, Turpin was a horse thief turned murderer from back in the 1730s and was also known for the fictional 200-mile overnight ride from London to York on his horse, Black Bess. A story that, I don't know, was made famous by the Victorian novelist William Harrison Ainsworth almost 100 years after Turpin's death. Supposedly, Turpin was a regular at the pub when he was not horse thieving or murdering. Well, maybe he did mix a little business with pleasure, because there is also a lady in white, and she's thought to be one of Turpin's victims. And she's spotted in the garden. Many patrons to the pub have reported the sensation of feeling an invisible hand tugging at their clothes and think that it's her trying to get their attention. Also, allegedly, Dick Turpin's faithful horse, affectionately known as Black Bess, apparently haunts the car park as well. So the sound of neighs and hooves have been heard by many over the years.
That's kind of cool.
That is cool. Yeah, I like that. Perhaps these ghosts only appear when you have had one drink too many. But the inn is also a literary landmark. Wendy, you'll love this. It is mentioned in Charles Dickens' The Pickwick Papers and in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh.
Robert Louis Stevenson, William Blake, Mary Shelley, and Lord Byron were all patrons at this lovely establishment, as were the painters Hogarth, Reynolds, and Constable. Keats was a frequent visitor as well, and it is rumored that he wrote his Ode to a Nightingale's after listening to the nightingale singing in the inn's garden. So for all you Ode to a Nightingale's fans out there, this is your spot.
It sounds like it's a really nice place, though. Everybody like to hang out there.
I love all these people, coming together, all these dark writers of fiction, they come together and they're sitting down having their, I don't know, what would they drink back there? Their brandy, I guess it's beer, right? Because it's in the garden.
Beer, whiskey, brandy, yeah.
They're out there having drinks. Just let me tell you what Dracula's going to do next, or, that's cool. I love the thought of all of that. And then, who knows? All of a sudden there's a neighing in the background and they're like, what was that? They have to stop for a second. Let me write that down. The inn even has a place in political history. In 1780, during the anti-Catholic Gordon riots, the Protestants reacted so badly to the extra freedoms granted to the Catholics that they showed their displeasure by ransacking, attacking, and burning buildings. Among their chosen targets was the Kenwood House, a 17th century stately home that sat directly across from the Spaniards Inn. When the Spaniards' landlord, Giles Thomas, found out about the plot, he decided to derail it using the most powerful weapon in his armory, free booze.
Oh, it's like, I didn't know what you were about to say.
Apparently, rioting can make a fellow really thirsty, so Giles was able to swiftly persuade the mob to take a break and have a few drinks. While the rioters were drinking at the Spaniards Inn, Giles secretly sent a message to fetch a unit of horse guards, which showed up and were able to calm the rioters down, who then put down their weapons and slunk off back to London.
Probably in the best mood ever.
I'm sure they just got free booze. They're just like, all right, fine. I mean, I think it was a win, kind of a situation. So this place has a lot going for it. And since most of the action happens to be outside anyways, this pub might be a good one to check out on New Year's. And if it's too chilly, I'm sure the booze from the beer garden should help to keep you warm. Mm-hmm. So my next pub is the Sutton Arms. And while I don't have too much on its history to offer you, I can tell you that it's reportedly haunted by a red-haired old gentleman in old-fashioned attire who the landlord has come to know as Charlie. He's been seen sitting nonchalantly in the corner of the pub, and on one famous occasion, he appeared suddenly between two girls who were enjoying a lunchtime drink.
Little creepy Charlie.
Yeah, he's a little weird. Having given them a nasty fright, he grinned and then promptly disappeared. All right, Charlie. In October 1997, a friend of the then landlord who was staying in one of the pub's upstairs rooms was looking in the mirror, combing her hair, And suddenly she got a cold shiver that passed over her. And the next moment she saw the reflection of a red-haired man standing behind her smiling. So she spun around super quick, all shocked and scared at the sight of the intruder, but was astonished to find that no one was there. So Charlie likes the ladies, and he's a little creepy.
I think he's a little shy, though. He's
Yeah, you
like,
think
hey,
so?
ladies. And as soon
Yeah,
as they're
right.
like, oh, he's like, oh, sorry, never mind. I feel bad for him.
I know, right? Again, it's a spirit that doesn't seem to really be doing anything but like just kind of smiling, popping up in weird places, and then poof, disappearing. It's like,
It's
okay.
like he wants companionship, but, he's scared off very easily.
Looking for love in all the wrong places, Charlie. So now I move on to the George. The current black and white timbered frontage of the building only dates back to the 1930s, but the basement belongs to a much older building that goes back as far as the 17th century, when the George was actually a coffee house. So this reminds me of a cup holder that I've been eyeing on Pinterest lately. It's like repurposed wood, and like the palette basically has been stenciled in where it says coffee keeps me going until it's acceptable to drink wine. And it has like hooks for the coffee cups and then a place to hang the wine glasses. It's adorable, And just like this place that was once a coffee house and now it's a haunted pub. I just again, I love this.
We have a wine and coffee bar in downtown Tucson.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
They do both?
and then ice cream's right next to it, too.
Oh my God, this is great.
You don't even have to leave there.
No, I would live there. That's amazing. I love that. So we need to work that into the repurposed palette wood. So it's got to be coffee, wine, ice cream, all the different glasses that you get. So in the basement of the George is where a curious phantom is said to haunt. So he's more of the coffee fan, I suspect, since that's where he's hanging out. And I get that he probably needs all the energy for spooking people. But during a refurbishment in the 1970s, painters and decorators arrived to begin work at the pub one morning. Having allotted various tasks to his men, the foreman went down into the old cellar and started his task of whitewashing the walls. But after about 20 minutes, he came racing back upstairs. Now, I'm going to do my best to throw in this accent here and read it verbatim, but I'm already going to go ahead and apologize because I know that this is going to be terrible. So forgive me. That fella down there, governor. The terrified decorator panted to the landlord. He just looked at me, didn't say nothing. He just stared at me. The landlord calmed him down with a glass of brandy and then asked him what the man had looked like. All historical like, them roundheads and cavaliers. No, it says historical like, not historical like. That's how it reads. That's verbatim.
I gotcha.
He was breathless in his reply. The landlord just nodded. Oh, I shouldn't worry about him, he reassured the unfortunate workman. That's just a ghost. My wife sees him all the time.
What's your
Poor
problem?
painter's like, you could have warned me. Before that day, the spirit that had come to be known as the Laughing Cavalier was only known to a select few people, like the landlord's wife, apparently. But following the encounter by the foreman, the mysterious specter has become a popular reason for visiting this trendy little pub. No one has ever been able to ascertain who the spirit is, though his presence appears to be completely benign in nature. Staff who have ventured into the basement have come away with some interesting encounters with the Civil War era ghost, reporting that he manifests. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. So when he manifests, he starts out as a shimmering light, and then he evolves into a mustachioed man in cavalier's uniform. Very dramatic.
Wow.
When he fully appears, he first stares at people and then lets out a gut-wrenching belly laugh before he's gone again.
What? Okay.
It's such a dramatic entrance.
It's such a presentation for such little kind of info there, or interaction even. He just comes in and he's like, haha, look at what I did. And that's it. I'm tired now.
I think he actually gets a good laugh off of the people's faces. He comes in, he's like full form, and someone's, like holding on to the wall. Like they think that they're seeing like, all the signs that they're about to die. Like maybe they're about to have a stroke or something. And then he gets a look at their face and he's like, and then he's gone. That's all he can muster up.
Yeah.
Whomever this phantom cavalier is, he stays primarily in the basement and has never been seen in the bar or the restaurant. So he's a cool dude having a really good time in the basement of the bar. No harm there. But the next one I have is a little bit more unsettling. As one of London's oldest pubs, the Flask Highgate also has the decor to set the scene. They have chilly cave-like rear rooms and a very infamous cemetery right around the corner. The Flask Highgate has come to be known as one of London's spookiest pubs, that's for sure. But back in the late 1960s and early 70s, a series of bizarre events occurred in and around Highgate Cemetery where a number of sightings of phantoms and specters, particularly of a tall, dark cloaked entity with burning eyes, led to speculation that the capital had acquired its very own vampire.
Ooh.
David Ferrant, a paranormal investigator, wrote that when passing the cemetery on December 24th, 1969, that he glimpsed a gray figure, which he considered to be supernatural, and asked if others had seen anything similar. And by January 13th, several people had replied, describing a variety of ghosts said to haunt the cemetery or the adjoining Swan's Lane. These ghosts were all described as being either that of a tall man in a hat, a spectral cyclist, a woman in white, a face glaring through the bars of the gates of the cemetery, a figure wading into a pond, a pale gliding form, bells ringing, and bodiless voices that called out. Yeah, so it was a very long list of responses that he got from people saying that they had all had some kind of a strange experience. And as you can tell, I mean,
it's a variety of shit.
Yeah, tons of things were happening there. And then this other guy named Sean Manchester appears on the scene. So he's another paranormal investigator. And he claimed the figure that Ferrant had seen before was actually the vampire, which is when the media goes bananas, very quickly latching onto that story, embellishing the tale with a few more vampire stories, saying that it's the king of the vampires and he's in there practicing black magic. I mean, whatever sells papers, I guess, right?
Yeah, no. Why would the vampire hang out in a fucking cemetery?
Because it's cool. Why not?
Well, he can live wherever he wants. He's not going to hang around dead people.
Yeah, no, exactly. It didn't say which newspapers. I mean, it could have been the Sun or the Star.
No, but definitely heard of like people thinking that there's this vampire that lives in some, I couldn't remember if it was Scottish or English cemetery. And it was because they had seen him like multiple nights as if he had like come out to go feed. I have heard that. And you would think that he kind of could just like blend in, I guess, with any ghost, especially if there's tons of ghosts around. He's like, they're not going to be looking at me crazy. Go look at that guy, like putting his face all up on the fence and stuff.
Yeah,
or the chick swimming. They're too busy focused on them. They don't even see me coming. And then he takes them, you know?
So along those lines, Wendy, it's funny that if indeed these were actual people that were in the cemetery at night, like who in the hell was waiting in the pond in the cemetery? I mean, that's some weird shit. Don't do that.
Back in my early drinking days that were pretty extreme, I loved to get drunk and try to go swim in places. I didn't have a pool, so we had to find wherever we could find water.
Well, I mean, in my mind, those also could be the bodiless voices that we're calling out because, you know, sound kind of transfers from one place to another. And if someone's waiting around in a pod in a cemetery, I mean, where else is that sound going to go? It's going to go somewhere, right?
Right, yeah.
So some of those things could probably have been, you know, actual people just doing things. But some of them might have been, I mean, a spectral cyclist. How would that have happened?
Yeah, and then like the ghost face and the fence and stuff. Yeah, I mean, they only said it was a face, so not a full body.
Right.
Can't be a real person.
Just a face.
Yeah.
No, right. Where's the rest of you, sir? So the ensuing publicity was only enhanced by a growing rivalry between these two ghost hunters, Ferret and Manchester, each who also claimed could and would expel or destroy the specter. What? Not much of a ghost hunter if you're just going to get rid of it.
Yeah, this is not what I thought they were arguing about. I was about to start thinking maybe that's what we should be doing. Me versus you. Who gets the most evidence? Not who gets rid of the ghost. That's not happening.
These guys were out to figure out who was the biggest badass, the best expert, I guess, but expert at getting rid of ghosts or whatever they thought that it was. Manchester declared he would hold an exorcism, which happened to be Friday the 13th of all days in March 1970. But when the news was broadcast on a local TV station, within hours, a mob of other hunters from all over London and beyond swarmed the gates and walls into the locked cemetery, despite police efforts to control them. This became fucking scene. I mean, quickly. And I don't even know if the hunters were there to stop them from whatever they were trying to do, or if it's because they wanted to put their eyeballs on this. They're like, no, I got to get front row seats. I cannot watch this on TV. I got to get my t-shirt that says, I was there at the exorcism, Friday the 13th, me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go down there if I lived in the neighborhood. Then I'd see the crowd, and then I'd be like, no, never mind.
Never mind. That's too many. Yeah. And they were climbing over the fence and stuff, just acting wild.
No.
Then on August 1st, 1970, the charred and headless remains of a woman's body were found not far from the catacomb. The police suspected that it had been used in black magic rituals. Farrant was found by police in the churchyard beside Highgate Cemetery, carrying a crucifix and a wooden stake. He was arrested, but the charges were later dropped. I mean, just because you're carrying your vampire hunter kit around doesn't necessarily mean that you've done anything to anybody. It does mean, however, that that's the guy you want to hang out with, just in case those vampires do happen to pop back up. Have him as a buddy. And then a few days later, Manchester returns to Highgate Cemetery, and he claimed that he, along with his companions, forced open the doors of the family mausoleum. And then I guess where he was going, this family mausoleum or whatever, it was pointed out by one of his psychic helpers as this being the spot where the vampire is coming from. This is its lair, right? He says he lifted the lid on one of the coffins, and just as he was about to drive a stake through the body, he was persuaded by one of his colleagues to chill the fuck out. So he reluctantly did. He refrained, he closed the coffin lid, and he left a bunch of garlic and incense in the vault instead.
Okay.
Yeah. So good thing there was a bar nearby, because it sounds like all these guys really needed was to have a few drinks.
Yeah, look, it's pretty disrespectful what they're doing too. Like this poor
It is very
family's gravesite is just being like tormented by these people of like, what was he gonna do when he got the casket open? Did he have his stakes and stuff with him?
Yeah, he was ready. According to him, he was ready. But like a friend that was with him was probably, the one of sound mind and logic, and was kind of like, man, really? Enough's enough. Why would you do this?
Yeah. Also, it's illegal. I mean, you can't do that. You can't just open up people's coffins and do what you want to dead bodies just because they're dead.
Yeah, no. Back in the day, too, this was like pretty much overgrown cemetery. Like people weren't keeping an eye on it really well.
Oh.
So, yeah, people were going and doing a lot of bad stuff there. I mean, since then, it's been taken a lot more seriously and people cleaned it up. But yeah, it was rough. I saw some pictures of it. I didn't get any for the show here, but, I'll put them up on social media this week so you can see these cool 70s ghost hunters, all badassified, looking gangster-like with their shit. But yeah, so going back to the pub that got me on this tangent to begin with, the Flask, which was originally constructed in 3 phases. The oldest parts date back to 1663. Wow. And the main body was built in the 1720s. Lastly, they put the finishing touches on the building around 1800, and with only a few updates here and there, the building has pretty much remained the same ever since then. So here's where the Flask starts to get a little creepy. The first autopsy in the area, which was reportedly performed in the committee room of the Flask, after 2 resurrection men snatched a fresh corpse from the nearby infamous cemetery. You know which one I'm talking about. I just told you the whole story about it. But throughout its history as a pub, the Flask was a favorite gathering place for artists and writers. Those big names I told you about before, yeah, they liked this one too. Byron, Shelley, and Keats were among the regulars at this establishment, as well as William Hogarth, who sketched 2 customers as they attempted to beat each other to death with their beer tankards.
Wow. Just don't try to intervene or anything. Just hold still. I'm getting
this.
Right.
Oh, he moved. Damn it. Yeah, real nice.
I love how we were kind of under the impression that like really creative group, it was so cool. They hung out at that one bar. That was their spot. I bet so many ideas bounced off the walls. Sounds like they were some drinkers and that they probably hit all the pubs up. So, I don't know how much work was actually getting done in these pubs,
Yeah, no, I got the vibe like they were the 1700s pub crawlers kind of people. They were checking out all the places. So also another name that I mentioned earlier, he liked this place too. The highwayman, Dick Turpin, he once hid out in the basement of the Flask when being pursued by the law. One of the most well-known stories about the Flask occurred when the pub was complete in the 1800s. Back then, a beautiful young Spanish woman came to London and took a job as a barmaid at the Flask. Over time, the barmaid became infatuated with the owner, eventually falling head over heels in love with this handsome young man. One day, she decided to risk it all and express her love for her boss. But when she told him her true feelings, her boss let her know that he was a married man and that wasn't going to be possible. The next morning, upon opening the pub, the young girl's lifeless body was found hanging in the basement where she had committed suicide.
Mm.
Today, the basement where the Spanish barmaid hung herself is a seating area. And the ghost of the barmaid has made herself known by appearing to staff and patrons as she continues working as if she never missed a beat. She's been seen wiping down the bar and the tabletops and has also been heard sobbing uncontrollably at night when the staff is closing up shop.
Poor thing, but she had to have known he was married. Like, she spent that much time with him, and then she's like, what? You have a wife? Yeah. I had no idea. No, I bet she knew.
No, I bet she knew. And actually, I saw another variation of the story, which made it seem more like they were having an affair, but he was not willing to leave his wife for her.
Yeah, it was like, I want you to be with me. And he was like, yeah, nope.
Yeah, he was like, no, I like this thing we got going on here. This is working out nicely for me. And she's like, no, I want more than that. Yeah, no, I read another variation of it. So who knows? This was in the 1800s, and I don't even have this poor girl's name. So who knows, right? It's just one of the stories that are told at the pub. And I mean, drunk people like to tell stories. Clink. So a number of the patrons at the pub who thought she was a living barmaid have approached her, most likely to ask where the bathroom was or if they could get another round, but she vanishes just as they approach her. Yep, they all do that, right? They're just like, oh, you're too close. Gone.
But it's when you're like, excuse me. So you're, oh.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, as soon as they recognize that you recognize them, it's like, oh shit, I'm going to get in trouble. I got to go. Like they're not supposed to be seen. So weird. There's also a ghost of a man dressed in full uniform of a cavalier who's been seen in the main bar area. He's said to suddenly appear and is looking out a window as if watching for someone. He then turns and vanishes as he walks through a pillar that's now in the middle of the room. The cavalier is believed to be a soldier guarding the building and someone that might have died while carrying out his duties. I mean, we need to get like investigators at these pubs so we can get some names. I got no names here except for maybe Charlie. And that's just because that's what the landlord calls him. His name might probably Charlie. It's probably something else, but
it is not Charlie, knows? I bet. $1 million. But he's going to call him Charlie. And so he's going to become Charlie. And then after a while, the ghost will probably forget what his name was. He was like, I'm Charlie, right? No, I seem to remember being named Daniel at one point. But anyways, it's these stubborn ghosts. They won't speak up and tell you their full names. So you've got experiences, but you've got no way to research any backstory to find out who they are.
Yeah, you've either got to do some serious investigations at these places or be a legit medium and you can go in there and just, pick up all of these things. I can tell he was a cavalier soldier. I can tell that he did die and his name begins with I'm picking up a CH sound. You have to be able to have some kind of in tune or how else are you going to find these details out? There's just so many gaps here in these stories. I'd really like to know more about him. If there was ever a barmaid, was she fucking hurt? Seriously, did he do her wrong or was she just like, I'm ending my life because this is the only love for me? She deserves to have the real story told, unless she was a flake. Then maybe we'll just leave it like that.
No, the poor girl. She just wanted someone to love. But yeah, you'd have to spend a lot of time to really get those stories from the source. And that's the only way to really do it. Because even if you research the property's history, most of it's not documented very well.
Right.
And even if you find out this person, that person, this person, they all died here. Who's to say that that's necessarily who's haunting the place, though?
Right. We've said this before. It could have been someone who was just attached to a piece of furniture that happened to, get moved from one location to this. So it's so hard to say. But the next one that's on my list has a little bit more history to it. So this is the Viaduct Tavern, which stands right next to the Central Criminal Courts, which is better known as the Old Bailey based on the road that it is on. And it dates back to 1875. And is the last example of a late Victorian gin palace left in the city of London. These establishments were created to be lavish drinking holes that catered to the high end of society, but even the poor people got their gin there too, because it was affordable. Directly across the street from the Viaduct Tavern was where the notorious old Newgate prison once stood. And in the same area now sits like a small fountain, and it is believed to be where public executions of the jail's prisoners were once carried out. Due to its situation, the site could be spotted from every window within the Viaduct Tavern, making it a hot spot when looking for seats at the next execution.
Oh, yeah. I like when my restaurant has a nice view too.
Yeah, no. Another prison known as the Old Gilt Spurt Street Compter also once existed in the tavern's general vicinity. That particular jail was a debtor's prison, and it was demolished sometime in the 1850s. But many believe that the Viaduct Tavern may have been built over the top where the prison once stood, which would explain the presence of the underground prison cells.
Mm-hmm.
But the Viaduct Tavern isn't on my list just because of its super cool historical significance. It's also well known for having bouts of poltergeist activity. However, by this point in your night, after all of the bar hopping you've done to fit in all of these places, I'm sure any moving objects may seem like a paranormal encounter rather than you just being a little tipsy. But finally, I'm doing a story on pubs, and just now, this is the location where ghosts are said to steal your drink when you're not looking. I finally got there.
Negative. Drinks cost too much in the pubs for you to be taking them, okay?
I've always said that too, but I do like this thought. If you were once in jail and now suddenly there's just a drink right in your view, I mean, wouldn't you take that opportunity too?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you just got to look for those opportunities. In the upstairs area of the building, a landlord's daughter claimed to experience a vivid interaction with an unseen force in the 1980s. While sitting in one of the bedrooms, she claimed to hear heavy footsteps coming up the stairs. The door to her room she was sitting in then suddenly swung open, and before she could comprehend what was happening, the newspaper within her hands was snatched away and thrown on the floor. Then the footsteps turned around and headed right back down the staircase.
Oh.
So he did not want her reading that smut news article, apparently.
That's such a weird interaction. What are you doing in here?
Right. This is my room. That's my paper.
That's the devil's paper.
Right, exactly. I wish someone would have told me what she was reading because it really pissed that ghost off.
Yeah, it had to be like a Playboy type old style. It's something to really piss them off.
I bet it was. I bet she changed the story to say it was a newspaper. I was reading a newspaper. You know, that's what I do up in my bedroom all alone. In 1996, a manager was tidying the cellar one Saturday morning when the door suddenly slammed shut and the lights went out. He had to feel his way to the door, and he found that no matter how hard he, pushed to try and open the door, that it wouldn't open. Like all of a sudden the door was locked. Then, while he's down there in this dark, damp room, in this situation where he can't open the door, he suddenly hears a whisper in his ears that say, "It's just you and me down here now."
Ooh.
Fortunately, his wife heard him screaming and came downstairs to help. She found that the doors, which would not open from the inside, were unlocked and easy to open from the outside. So she didn't know what was going on. In May 1999, 2 electricians working in one of the pub's upstairs room also attracted the attention from the spirits here. They had rolled the carpet up and were taking up the floorboards when one of them felt a hand tap him on the shoulder. Thinking it was his workmate, he turned around but found that he was on the other side of the room. Now he feels like he must have imagined this, so he went back to work, and then again, he felt the tap on his shoulder. This time he stood up and walked over to his friend like, "Hey man, what the hell are you doing?" But the man denied any involvement. As he was about to return to his work, both men watched as the heavy carpet that was rolled up and rusting by the window was lifted up into the air and dropped down onto the floor.
Wow.
Yeah. So they must have also been reading that same newspaper, I guess. Or maybe that newspaper was in that rolled up carpet. He just doesn't like certain things.
Well, that's a weird thing, but it's a heavy thing. So that's crazy.
It is a heavy thing. A whole roll of carpet. I mean, yeah, that's heavy. The newspaper's a little easier. I mean, shit, it could have been just blown out of her hand.
Yeah, I never thought about that. What if it was just the wind that busted the door open and then that knocked the newspaper out of her hand? She's up there like being scaredy cat by herself. So she's like,
she's like, I heard the stories.
But it's a little harder to explain carpet lifting and dropping. And that's a heavy ass thing for a spirit to be picking up.
Yeah, that's a lot of energy involved. And maybe that's why it takes him like 20 years in between appearances, right?
Right, yeah.
So Amy's crypt visited the Viaduct in 2018, and Amy got to indulge in some of the spirits at the pub. She said that although London's Viaduct Tavern has some spooky ghost stories and dark history, it is a truly gorgeous pub. The cocktail list, beer and gin selection is amazing. Staff are also extremely friendly. And she said that she was lucky enough to get one of the staff members to escort her downstairs to take a look at the old jail cells.
Nice.
So in this instance, she was just like a tourist. Or really, she was just a patron. She was just there to have a few drinks. And she's also like, and how do I get down to see those jail cells? What do I got to do? So she befriended one of the guys and he took her down there just to take a little tour, which was awesome because I could totally see, that being a Wendy and Chris experience. We're like,
Yes.
let's see what we can do. So, like I said, that was just a tour that she did and she just wrote it up on her blog. So it wasn't like, if you go to Amy's Crypt on YouTube, you get to see all these amazing places where she's been. Hell, she might have done a video on it. I just didn't get a chance to look. So maybe by the time this comes out, if it's out there, I'll definitely link it because I love everything that Amy's Crypt has to offer.
Yeah, she's fun.
So, of course, I had to save the one called The Rising Sun for last because that one should be the reminder for you that you were out all night partying until 2021. Now, The Rising Sun is a cozy and traditional 18th century hostelry, and it had been abandoned for much of the 20th century up until 1984 when the brewer Samuel Smith purchased and refurbished the building. Its proximity to St. Bartholomew's Hospital has led to a local legend that in the early 19th century, a gang of body snatchers used the pub as a meeting place and later a hunting ground for cadavers, which was used to supply the research needs of doctors, all in the name of science. Even though that's just a rumor for this location, there is still some strange activity occurring here that does tie into some of the history within the building. Shortly after raising the pub from the dead, staff and patrons began reporting encounters with something dark and brooding in the otherwise welcoming London pub. In 1989, 2 young women from Brazil took jobs as barmaids in the pub. They also took up residency within the building. I love how many of these pubs are just like, we got some rooms upstairs too, so you want to live here? Yeah.
Live where you work and stuff. It's super convenient though. I mean, like, you might get annoyed with it, like you can never get away type thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, your commute is amazing. And you're probably getting to live, like, in the smack dab of everything,
Right. You're in the heart of it all. You don't have to worry about heating up your car or how long it's going to take you to walk home if you have to walk. All of those things don't come to mind. You could probably just get some bar food, too, burger and fries. Carry it upstairs. Everything's taken care of.
Yeah, and the ones you've mentioned so far have all been like people that have moved from other countries to there. So I'm wondering if I know how to make a drink good enough so I can get me a job in an apartment in London.
Right. Wendy moves from the U.S. to London to become a barmaid.
Yeah. Now, you did mention beautiful Spanish girls and beautiful, would you say Brazil the last time?
They're Irish.
So,
yes.
Oh, no, I don't think they're looking for
Irish
me.
American. Can pour a whiskey like none other. I'll get you that cocktails book for your birthday. We'll get working on that. So the barmaids took up the residency in the building. They began reporting on several occasions their peaceful slumber was disturbed by an unseen presence that would sit on their bed. So at least he's not sleeping with them. He's just, having a little sit down.
Just taking a little rest. Just checking on you guys.
Yeah. I know, right? Just kind of like, hopefully, like a fatherly figure. Like, everything's okay. I'm just going to sit here for a second. Not being like super creepy, grinning at you while you're sitting there. They both had the overwhelming sense that whatever the nature of the spirit was, it was by no means pleasant. Oh, okay. So he was kind of probably creepy, not fatherly. They further reported that the foreboding spirit would, oh shit, I forgot about this, would rip their bedclothes off as they slept. So yeah, this is terrible.
No.
That?
Wait, bed covers or bed clothes?
Clothes. Bed clothes.
No.
I should have looked that up. Because in London, I think it is just your sheets, right? Bed clothes, not like your pajamas.
I don't know. Either way, it's offensive. Don't be pulling my sheets off unless it's like I've slept in and this father figure's like, get up, you lazy brats.
Right. Or if it's like really hot and I'm sweating and they're doing me a favor, like she needs this heavy quilt off of her. Thank you, ghost. Otherwise, no. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
So apparently they would find the bedclothes on the other side of the room after they were ripped off of them. So like, I don't even know if they got out of bed or if they were just too shaken to leave the bed. They just kind of laid there and slept through the night. But yeah, they would find their bedclothes just on the complete opposite side of the room. So not like either one of them was just kicking the shit off the bed.
Right. Yeah. It had to be something that moved it. It wasn't just like it fell off.
Yeah. Right. And after the last patron would go home from this place, employees locked up and cleaned up the pub, preparing it for business the next day. But as they clean it, they would hear footsteps running around on the second floor of the bar. When they'd go to investigate, all they would find is an empty bar and an eerie silence. I mean, it's an empty bar. So it's kind of like, ooh, it's eerily silent. I mean, I don't know. I guess it would be eerie if you were hearing, footsteps running. You go up there and there's nothing there.
Yeah. Then it's like stopped all of a sudden. I think that's what they kind of mean.
Yeah. So lastly, in 1990, the landlady was taking a shower when she heard the bathroom door open and close on its own. She tried to think nothing of it until the shower curtain was torn to the side and a cold, rough hand went down her back, leaving her feeling that she was violated. So definitely not a good thing at the viaduct. I'm not sure why he's got to be so nasty.
No, he seems to be torturing you with a cold chill, mostly.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, she's in the middle of a shower. She's naked. He's sitting on somebody's bed at night while they're sleeping. That's all creepy, creep. But also, like, you're cold and your bed covers, clothes, whatever. He's ripping them off. Rude. And then in the shower, these icy hands all over you and stuff. Rude.
All over you. Oh, no. That's such a violation. They should just, not let people live there. I don't see how they could, allow anyone else to live there knowing that this is the kind of shit that's happening. It's so bad.
I wonder if they give warnings to people and they listen to these experiences and they're like, well, take my chances. It's in a really great location.
Right. And I tell you what, you can live here rent free, but you got to know there's some bad stuff going on. And, personally, if you hear rent free, it's like, I can handle some ghosts. That's fine. This is fine. So maybe they are still having people live there.
Look, I would do it.
I know, right?
Like, he interrupts my shower every once in a while. Fine.
I know. Yeah, so you'd be a little weary of filming that. But, the bed sheets and stuff, you just got to set up a bunch of cameras and be like, go for it, man. Right. I'm going to be on Paranormal Caught on Camera or whatever that show is called. Bring it.
Shower with a bathing suit on. And we'll just go ahead and still film this. Yeah.
This done and done. See, that's all you have to do. At Viaduct Tavern, you just got to contact Creatures of the Night at paranormal@gmail.com.
Yeah, we're game.
We can fix this situation for you. We'll live there. We'll be barmaids. We're getting our books. So, despite its ghosts and its disturbing history, the Rising Sun is open daily and is a popular hangout in the neighborhood. The staff at all of these pubs love to tell patrons tales of their resident ghosts as they serve up traditional England pub food and drinks with a smile. Just like us with this podcast, serving up ghost stories with a smile. So go out and pay a visit to these fine establishments. And when you're done, drop us an email at creaturesofthenightparanormal@gmail.com and let us know if you had any spooky encounters. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would appreciate that. Like I said, we serve up ghost stories with a smile. Find us on YouTube so you can see us smiling. You can't really see it on the, media player that you're downloading to hear the show. But there are clips of us on YouTube doing this show. So just find us there and watch us. And if you want to help us out even more, please visit us. It's the Spirit Emporium on Etsy and buy some cool spiritual products or a really awesome t-shirt. I wear mine all the time. Like, I have bleach stains and holes in them because I wear them so much. They're good shirts. They hold up and they represent us. So if you like us, why not get a shirt? It's awesome. And, Christmas is over. It's the new year. Don't you want to go out with the new year with a bang and just start representing your favorite podcasts?
Yeah.
I know, I do.
What is it? Like, let your freak flag fly. Show everybody. Fly. Represent what your interests are.
Yeah, that's it. That's right. So, Wendy, it's that time again. It's time to say goodbye, but not just for the show. It's time to say goodbye to the year.
That's fine by me.
I know. That's what I was going to say. It was a storm. 2020 was crap. That's pretty much all I have to say about that.
No, people say that every year, it seems like. I mean, this one has really been, monumental. neither one of us, we're in our late 30s to 40s, and we've never experienced something like this before. It was a crazy year. It was. But I feel like at the end of most years, people are always like, goodbye, see you later, and acting like it was a shit show. Even though this year's been tough, and personally, we've had our own challenges and stuff that has nothing to do with really the pandemic or the election or anything like that. But we still had some cool times. Like, we got to see each other 3 times this year, right?
Yeah, it was a big year for us.
Oh, no, which is crazy. We probably shouldn't brag about the fact that we traveled during a pandemic, but we did. And we got to see some awesome locations. There were still good things that happened in this year. There's always good and bad.
There is always definitely good and bad. This one just happened to be one of the craziest years that I've ever encountered, but it is still, for me, ending on a good note. I mean, yeah, we did get to see each other probably a lot more this year than we have in the past years.
Yeah.
And it's funny, my husband, while we were driving to go, we went on another adventure to look at a house. We're passing by somewhere and he looks over and he's like, whoa, did you see that? I'm like, no, what was it? He's like, it looked like critters. And I'm like, it looked like critters? And he's like, yeah, like critters. And I'm like, you mean like the Kelly Hopkinsville goblins? And he's like, stop it. He's like, I unsubscribed to the Kelly Hopkinsville goblin discussion. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you talk about it all the time. I said, no, I don't. I haven't mentioned it in a while. He said, you mentioned it not too long ago, so stop it. And I'm like, no, seriously, that was like August when Wendy was in town when we did the story. So I haven't mentioned it in a while, Mr. Unsubscribe to the Goblin Talk. Who are you?
Don't you know who you're married to?
I know. It was just so funny how he brought it up. And at the same time, I was sitting there reminiscing on all of the places that we had gone. We've mentioned it on a couple of podcasts. We've been all over Nevada, went all over New England. I mean, we've had a lot of experiences. SK Pierce happened this year. That happened this year. All the crazy shit that happened there. I mean, come on, that was great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 2020 was definitely not ideal for many people. And I'm trying to end this on a good note, not a bad note, because there's a lot of devastation still in the world left over from things like COVID-19. So at least for us and for the rest of the world, we are moving into 2021. So on that note, Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year. And to all those trying to find hope in things, a new year seems to always bring something fresh to everyone. So we hope that for you as we start into this new year, and that we kind of can let go of some of the negative stuff from last year.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. Get your incense and your sage and just start burning it daily until it just everything is cleansed properly. That's the only thing I can think of. And yeah, so with that said, the Creatures of the Night podcast is going to be switching up a little bit. You'll find out next week on our episode. It's going to be a shortened version, and it's not going to be a full story. We are going to go into the creature features, even though nobody decided to write us. Well, that's not true. We did get a few stories here and there, but the Creatures of the Night will start doing our own little creature features. So...
Yeah, we're going to try something new. Like we said, fresh for the new year.
Fresh.
And see how that goes.
Yes, but still, if you have a personal paranormal experience that you'd like to reach out to us, or a place that you want to hear about, still continue to flood us with your emails.
Please do. Give us recommendations for locations, or please write our podcast for us, basically, because I ain't got time to do that shit anymore. So I would love if you just write me exactly what you want me to say. I'll read it, I promise, verbatim. I don't give a shit. Just give me a good story, please.
So that's write to us at creaturesofthenight@gmail.com.
Once again, yep.
So again, that's all that I have. That was my Happy New Year's to everyone. Go out and enjoy some pubs if you can. And if not, you can sit back and have a glass of wine, listen to your girls on the podcast, and just enjoy it for what it is.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, cheers.
Sayonara 2020. Cheers.
Bye.